centuries ago. We had work coming out of our ears, casting spells, constellations, succeeding
I'm a business. What? We used to have an antique shop in the high street. You might remember it. There.
I'd always resisted it till then, although most of it made.
Jabba jabba, blah blah blah, dum-dee-dum.
There were some attempts to find
A lot of talking.
To tell you the truth,
in
a bit of an obnoxious chap to lad back then.
these faces.
Used to getting his own way.
The job application said lady in waiting, and they're not wrong. I've been here for weeks, and for most of that time, I've just been waiting for something to happen. There's been a lot of talking. Oh, you wander into any corridor and chances are there's somebody muttering away to themselves. They love talking. Jabba jabba, blah blah blah, dum-dee-dum. Nothing to say, but a lot of talking. There's talk of a ghost, but I haven't seen anything. Oh, that old man died. The rumour was that he'd been murdered, but that was quickly hushed up. Not much talking there, which is very sus if you ask me. I mean, what was he doing hiding in Madame's bedroom in the first place? That's what they should have been talking about. They put a play on. A play. I feigned a migraine to get out of it. I mean, apart from the fact that there was no one famous in it. Yes, some third-rate touring production, yawn. It had apparently been written by His Highness. God, how bleak must that have been? I hear the king left at the interval. And now we are obliged to watch a fencing match. Can you imagine? The chubby prince actually doing some sport for a change against, I don't know, some chap who fancies himself and seems to swan in and out of the court whenever he likes. This is meant to be a royal court and it's absolute chaos. You'd think that that would make for some excitement, but it's just hanging around, listening to speech after speech and nothing to do. It's like a prison. So, time for the boring fencing game. We all know what's going to happen. Swish, swish, 1 point to this person, clap, clap. Swish, swish, 1 point to the other person, clap, clap. The king will be knocking back the wine. We all know how he loves to do that. Madame will fawn over her son. God, let's hope he wins. And then we'll all clap some more. I can see it now. A complete non-event. Dead boring.
They were trying to take away the flowers, shoveling up the floral tributes, candles, cards, toys, like it was just rubbish. Like he was rubbish. My boy. I saw Father Donal, bastard, been sat here all week, chugging tea and scoffing Jaffa cakes, offering comfort my arse. I saw him grab a teddy by one ear, like something the cat killed, and flick it into a bin bag. Family support copper tried to pull me off, but I lost it. Next thing, I've got a fistful of her hair. Father Donald's nose is pumping more blood on the pavement. And of course someone's filmed it. Not just news media. It's all over socials. 16,000 views. Tragic teens, manic mom punches priest. Mad mom milking it. Move on, murder mum. Chalk hearts on the playground wall, blur and fade, like ghosts. And pity. The flowers lasted longer than thoughts and prayers. Some bitch on Facebook calling me a grief addict. Crazy Connie crying for the cameras. Crazy. I wish. Crazy would be better. Crazy would be somewhere to go away from here. He was here and here and here. In every inch of every room he lived and breathed and laughed. His bike in the hall, his trainers on the stairs, his homework, half finished on his bedroom floor. He cheeked me, groaned at my jokes, rolled his eyes when I said bedtime, and made me cups of tea and handmade cards on Mother's Day. He drank milk from the bottle and left the bathroom light on and went out without his coat. My boy. Arthur. Say his name. My beautiful boy went out, and now he's never coming home.
Yes, down there on the small table. No, I don't need a coaster. Look at the state of the table, you can't do any more harm to it. Scratched and used. It is tea, isn't it? Not coffee. I don't drink coffee, on principle. The nurse has just said my daughter's running late for her visit. Which one, I say? Delia, the one that's still talking to you, says the nurse. She said it with a smirk, though it might just have been the start of Belle's palsy. Delia, she's the youngest one. She does just about talk, but only to moan about the traffic or the parking, or have a go at me for something I used to do, and then leave. Oh, and to moan about her precious sisters. She's being sarcastic. Thankless child. She doesn't forgive me. What? I'm a businessman. Was. We used to have an antique shop in the high street. You might remember it. Lear and Sons. Yes, I know. It seemed a good traditional name. I took a guess. I was planning for the future. How was I to know? Daughters wouldn't fit on the shop front. It's a narrow frontage, though the shop was always deep, extending all the way back to the cemetery wall. It still made sense to pass on my kingdom. You can cut a pie into too many slices. 3, too many. The elder two saw my good points. A fabulous eye for a bargain. One said I was the cleverest man in town this side of the Thames. The middle daughter said folk mistook me for a man 10 years younger. Whereas Delia always said I was, what were her words, vain and defensive. And now she moans I've too many stains on my top. No customer service skills. So the other two seemed a better bet for the business. I put it in their names, didn't I? Trusted them. They sold it out from under me. I'm a foolish man. Nothing left from the shop except this table, the smallest of a set of 3, scratched and worn and well past its best. The other two, much better looking, better condition, are long gone. This one will have to do. The last antique. Apart from me, of course. Lear and Sons is now a coffee shop. That's why I don't drink coffee. I don't even like tea. That's the tragedy.
Here's the confession. I used to be a witch. Well, I suppose I still am one, but it's become incredibly difficult to make a living from it, doing it on your own. You probably don't know this, but magic is best practiced in numbers. Not a whole coven. Oh, you imagine the noise with all that cackling and potion bubbling. No, 3 is the ideal situation. And I did used to work with a couple of other witches, but over time it became harder and harder to find work. A couple of centuries ago, well, we had work coming out of our ears. We were casting spells, conjuring up ghostly visions and making prophecies of all sorts. In fact, royalty were regular clients. But that dried up when kings and queens stopped murdering each other. The call for using magic in bloody quests to capture thrones just melted away. People say it's progress. I don't know. Anyway, we had to find other work to supplement our diminishing incomes, so we formed a girl band. Weird Sisters, we were called. We used to sing Scottish folk songs and covers of Proclaimers songs. And that's where the trouble started. We'd got on like a cauldron on fire when we were practicing magic. But the cracks started to show once we were in show business. Call it artistic differences, but we began falling out. Personally, I think the song 500 Miles is a classic, and I don't understand anybody who can get tired of it. But the others, once they'd sung it about 500 times, said it was an annoying earworm. I hated the bagpipe solos that we downloaded off Spotify, but the others loved them. For centuries we'd been happy just taking a line each when chanting magic spells, but now disagreement started over who sang what, and nobody wanted to be relegated to backing singer. I suggested that we all sang together, like Bananarama. But the egos were too big. It all reached breaking point when we were headlining the Highland Games Festival, and we had a massive disagreement about who was going to close the set. I'm ashamed to say that we lost our tempers and all started randomly throwing spells about that finally ended in the entire collection of games cabers being burnt to ash. So the band broke up, and I remember saying, "When shall we three meet again?" And the others said that if the band did get back together, they would probably replace me with someone from Britain's Got Talent. Charming. The last time I saw Clotho, she was working in a t-shirt factory. And I hear that Atropos is on the tills in Asda. And as for me, well, I'm barely scraping a living as a seaside fortune teller. You've got to reinvent yourself, haven't you? After all, we only live for 1,000 years or so.
First, may I thank the committee for allowing me to plead my case. I know I haven't been formally accused, but allegations have been made against me in the media, and on social media, and on the front door of my house. This is the first time I've been allowed to speak publicly on the matter, and I believe that what I have to say is important. No. I'm not important. I believe I have a significant contribution to make. I hope. I've heard many economists and journalists who assume some sort of knowledge discussing the financial crisis. I'm no expert, but I hope you'll forgive me for explaining the situation as I experienced it, in layman's terms. I knew that we were running out of money. I warned that we were running out of money. And I did so on numerous occasions, time and time again. But I was always dismissed, and the issue was always ignored. I don't really know what more I could have done. When we finally hit rock bottom and the cupboard was almost literally bare, there were some attempts to find what you could call informal loans. These failed, and I witnessed some distressing and emotional scenes with the PM. When we discovered his clothes abandoned on the beach, we obviously feared the worst. But as we all know, He had simply retreated to what he considered to be a simpler life on a Greek island. He had created the absolute shambles of a financial disaster and then simply walked away from it all. He was a loving, kind and honest man. He was a good and generous boss. But he simply was not suited for the post that he found himself in. And when he had gone as far as he could go professionally, he simply knocked off the bales and retreated back to the pavilion. I should say before you ask, I realise that my loyalty to the PM has led some people to suggest my complicity in this matter. Yes, it is true that in the last moments of the Premiership, when we were scraping the last coinage from the bottom of the barrel, I did receive a final payment. But this was just a fraction of my salary. And when I realised I was being singled out for this privilege, well, I shared the money with my team. Yes, I did retain some of it for myself, and I'm glad I did. I've hardly been able to obtain work since. Finally, I have visited him at his retreat once, and he thanked me again for my service. Quite honestly, I don't know what else I could have done to prevent this crisis. I warned him, but I'm a simple man. And as it turned out, so was he.
Some people think we have rather an odd marriage. They think my husband Peter is henpecked. But who are they to judge? They don't know what happened in the early days. To tell you the truth, he was a bit of an obnoxious Jack the Lad back then, used to getting his own way. Of course, some women like that. But I am cut from finer cloth. And although I found him physically irresistible, I found his manners rude and coarse, so I had to take drastic action. Now, you might think that my tactics were harsh, but I needed to be cruel to be kind, and they worked. I used to pretend that the horrid things he said, and did, were actually gentle and kind. I think he agreed to marry me after seeing I was the only woman willing to put up with his rabid chauvinism. After the honeymoon, I began the campaign of taming his pig-headed ways. I refused to cook for him. I made fun of his clothing, saying nothing was good enough for him. I claimed his perfectly cooked meat was overcooked, his lovely shirt didn't fit right, and his hairstyle wasn't fashionable. And I made a point of disagreeing with everything he came out with and making him agree with everything I said, no matter how ridiculous. I even got him to agree the earth is flat. You might think that was disgraceful conduct on my part, but there was method in my madness, and I have no regrets. A couple of my friends had got married about the same time, and we met in a cafe one weekend after having not seen each other for a little while. They were under the impression that Peter hadn't changed much, so we had a bit of a bet. We all texted our husbands at the same time and asked them to meet us. Of course, Peter arrived straight away, but the other two men took their time. And then a wonderful thing happened. Peter took the two of them to task, saying they were rude for having been so tawdry in their response. And he told them why it's good in a relationship that a man should listen to his wife and do as he's told. It really was gratifying, I don't mind saying. So, take a leaf out of my book, ladies, if you want your man to treat you right. Oh, that food smells delicious. Not that I'd overpraise him, mind. Oh, my glass is nearly empty. Peter, I need a refill. He's on his way. Tamed and trained. That's my Peter. Catherine, the world is your oyster.
I'm posting this video as a warning. So, like it and share it on your socials. It's not okay. We need to call this behaviour out. Now, I know this whole thing makes me look like a right donkey, but that's not important. What matters is that he isn't allowed to get away with it. Nobody else should be humiliated like I've been. It all started with a woman called Tanya, so I thought. I'd only just started using Tinder. I'd always resisted until then, although most of my mates were using it. Even the married ones, which is another issue, but anyway. Well, when Tanya's picture appeared, I was gobsmacked. She was beautiful. Amazing cheekbones. She looked like royalty off the top shelf of the internet. Out of my league, of course. But I was new to the whole online dating thing, and I just thought, what the hell? So I swiped right. Yeah. Couldn't believe it when we were matched. And she replied to my message. It's a dream come true. She really seemed to like me. She didn't even take the piss out of my name. I mean, Nick Bottom. Not the easiest name to live with. She was great for my confidence. I'm not much of a catch. I'm always talking myself out of approaching women. But here she was, gorgeous woman, making all the moves. I was walking on air. People commented on it. My boss gave me a raise just because I suddenly had the balls to ask him. I'd become a different person. Someone who mattered and who knew where he was going. I couldn't wait to see Tanya in real life. She was so busy. Her work was demanding. It was very difficult for her to find the time. Oh, she really wanted to. She did make a couple of dates. But she was pulled into the office at the last minute and had to cancel them. I was disappointed, of course, but she was so apologetic, so upset. I knew she was as desperate to meet as I was. Total crap, of course. Catfishing, I think they call it. Well, I was well and truly fished. Shown up to be a complete and utter fool. He, never asked me to transfer any money or buy gifts. He just seems to have done it for what they say these days, shit and giggles. Apparently likes taking the piss out of ridiculous sad men like me. I think they've got a chance with women like Tanya. Whoever she is. He nicked that photo from some website somewhere. Robin Goodfellow, he's called. Claims he's doing some sort of interactive art form, apparently. Exposing our vulnerabilities as a society. Performing undermining comedy. He calls it PUC for short. Well, he's bullying, mate. That's what it is. It's unacceptable. And you need cancelling.